There's something I've heard from so many men over the years, something that comes up in quiet conversations, often with a hint of regret. It's about intimacy. Not just the physical side, though that's part of it, but the deeper connection, the emotional closeness, the way we show up for the people we love. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that many older men look back and realize they missed some important truths along the way. Truths that, if they'd known them sooner, could have made all the difference. Maybe you felt it too, that sense of wishing you'd understood certain things earlier. Maybe you've wondered why intimacy felt harder as the years went by, or why the spark didn't always stay as bright as it once was. Well, today, we're going to talk about what so many men regret about intimacy later in life, and what they wish they'd known sooner. Because here's the good news, it's never too late to make a change. Now, let's start with something simple but powerful, something that might surprise you. A lot of men regret not realizing how much communication matters. When we're younger, it's easy to think that intimacy just happens, that it's all about passion and spontaneity. But the truth is, the deepest connections are built on words, on really talking and really listening. Think about it. How often have you assumed your partner knew how you felt without you saying it? Or how many times have you brushed off a conversation because it felt uncomfortable? Many men look back and realize that those missed conversations added up over time, creating distance where there could have been closeness. The good news? It's never too late to start. Even small steps, asking how your partner's day really was, sharing a memory, or simply saying, "I appreciate you," can open doors you didn't even know were closed. And that leads me to the second thing so many men wish they'd understood sooner. Intimacy isn't just about the big moments. It's in the everyday things, the touch of a hand, a shared laugh, sitting together in comfortable silence. Too often, we think intimacy has to be grand or dramatic, but the real magic is in the small, consistent acts of connection. I remember talking to a man in his 70s who told me, "I spent years thinking I had to perform to keep the romance alive. But what my wife really wanted was just me. My attention, my presence." Isn't that something? We get so caught up in doing things right that we forget the simplest truth: being fully there for someone is often more than enough. So, if you take anything from this today, let it be this: start small. Talk a little more. Listen a little closer. And don't underestimate the power of those everyday moments, because they're the ones that truly build a lifetime of connection. Now, let's talk about something else that so many men regret, something that might be a little harder to face, but is just as important to understand. You see, one of the biggest regrets I've heard from men over the years is this: they wish they hadn't let pride get in the way. It's something so many of us struggle with, especially as we get older, this idea that we should just know how to handle everything, that asking for help or admitting we're unsure is a sign of weakness. But here's the truth: real intimacy requires vulnerability. And that means letting go of the need to always have it all figured out. Think about it. How many times have you stayed quiet about something that was bothering you because you didn't want to seem emotional or needy? Or how often have you avoided talking about changes in your body or your desires because it felt awkward? The irony is, the very things we avoid out of pride are often the things that could bring us closer to the people we love. I'll never forget a conversation I had with a gentleman named Robert. He told me, "I spent years pretending everything was fine, even when I was struggling. I thought I was being strong, but really, I was just shutting my wife out. It wasn't until I finally opened up that I realized how much she wanted to understand, to support me." That's the thing. When we let down those walls, we give the people who care about us a chance to truly meet us where we are. And that brings me to another regret that comes up again and again: not prioritizing intimacy as life got busy. It's easy to let connection take a back seat when you're juggling work, family, health, and all the other responsibilities that come with aging. But over time, that neglect can leave a relationship feeling more like a partnership than a romance. The men I've talked to who've navigated this well all say the same thing: you have to be intentional. It doesn't have to be grand gestures, scheduling a regular date night, leaving a sweet note, or even just putting down the phone to really be present can make all the difference. One man told me, "I wish I'd realized sooner that intimacy isn't something you find time for, it's something you make time for." Because here's the reality, life doesn't naturally slow down and create space for connection. We have to carve that space out ourselves. And when we do, we often find that the later years can be some of the most deeply connected of our lives, if we're willing to put in the effort. Now, let's talk about something that might feel uncomfortable but is too important to ignore. You know, one of the most profound regrets I've heard from older men is this: they wish they hadn't waited so long to address the physical changes that come with aging. It's a topic that doesn't get talked about enough, but here's the truth: our bodies change, and that's okay. What's not okay is pretending those changes don't affect intimacy or, worse, letting shame keep us from seeking solutions. So many men tell me, "I thought it was just me," or "I figured this was the end of that part of my life." But here's what they learned too late: with the right approach, whether it's talking to a doctor, exploring new ways to connect, or simply adjusting expectations, intimacy can not only continue but actually deepen as we age. The key is being willing to adapt rather than retreat. Take Frank, for example. At 68, he assumed his days of physical intimacy were behind him until his wife gently encouraged him to speak with their doctor. What he discovered wasn't an ending, but a new beginning, one that required more communication, patience, and creativity than before, but ultimately brought him and his partner closer than ever. "We laugh more now," he told me. "There's less pressure, more playfulness. I wish I hadn't wasted years being embarrassed." And that leads me to the final, perhaps most important regret: not cherishing the emotional intimacy that comes with time. When men reflect on their lives, the deepest remorse isn't about the physical, it's about the moments they missed to truly connect. The quiet conversations they rushed through, the small gestures they didn't make, the love they felt but didn't fully express. Because here's the beautiful secret no one tells you: intimacy after 60 isn't about recapturing what once was, it's about discovering what can be. It's slower, richer, and more intentional. It's holding hands during the evening news because you know how precious time is. It's the courage to say, "I'm scared sometimes too," and finding strength in that honesty. It's realizing that after decades together, you can still learn new ways to love and be loved. So if you take one thing from this conversation, let it be this: it's never too late. Whether you're 65 or 85, whether you're in a relationship or starting anew, every day is a chance to choose connection, to talk a little more openly, to listen a little more deeply, to cherish the person beside you in ways you might not have before. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What's something you've learned about intimacy later in life that you wish you'd known sooner? And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more honest conversations about living fully at every age. Here's to embracing the connections that make life meaningful at every stage of the journey.